see. Is there anyone strong around here?
The breath is strong. Hold up, okay.
I'm wasting away here.
How many times we gonna see this motherfucker in one of the story shits?
You
Damn!
strong?
Shit!
You might be up for a match?
Yes! Okay. Oh.
I'm way too hungry.
Okay, hey, that music though.
What if I treat you to a meal if you fight me?
Yes!
You really
Oh
mean
my
it?
goodness! Oh my lord! Yo, she a bad bitch!
Sweet. Well, here we are again, back after a wee break, and this time a very lovely man. I think he's from the Wellington area. Daragh Norman. How are you doing, bro?
Not too bad. Yeah, from down lived down in Wellington by way of Ireland. Came over here about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I could tell by your accent. I think the first time we ran into each other, you very thick, man, thick accent.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
So, just give us a rundown about yourself and, maybe like how you found New Zealand since you're from Ireland.
Yeah, so I think it was 2007 around. I was working for IBM, and it was kind of like still in the good times, the Celtic Tiger Ireland. So we had, we were earning probably more money than we should for like kids fresh out of college or uni, sorry. And I was like, oh, maybe we should move to Australia because it's really easy to get a visa before you turn 30. So we went, it was meant to be 4 of us going, ended up being 2 of us, but we went over to Australia and we did a few cities. We did like Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And I was like, yeah, I had a good time, but I was like, I don't think I want to move to Australia. But then everybody who I stayed in touch with, that I met on that trip was a Kiwi. And I kind of said to them, oh yeah, like they were saying, we're either going to move to Ireland or Canada. I said, oh yeah, you should move to Ireland. And I gave them my details. Like we were smash drunk. This was like 4 o'clock in the morning. You exchange details and you actually forget you did it. So about 3 months later, we're back in Ireland and you get a phone call. And it's like, hey, this is Justin. And we're like, who the fuck is Justin? Like, it just, you've completely forgotten it. And then he was like, oh, the night out we had in Melbourne, we got pissed. We got into the argument about Brian O'Driscoll and Umaga. And I was like, oh yeah, Justin. So they ended up, him and 2 other mates ended up living in Ireland for a year, maybe just over a year. And then we were like, oh yeah, these Kiwis are good lads. I hadn't ever been to New Zealand, but I was like, I'll move over there. I was looking to move to somewhere just for a change. Like it was really only meant to be for a year, but that's how life works out. But so we ended up, we were going to move over in 2010, but then they said, oh, if you wait for 2011, you get the Rugby World Cup. So I came over just before the Rugby World Cup in 2011. Man, yeah. And so that was, that was pretty cool. And Justin now plays Street Fighter as well, like married with 2 young kids, so he doesn't like go to tournaments and such, but like he's usually around to play online and stuff.
Yeah. Man, that rugby, that New Zealand was booming back in 2011. I remember. I loved being in the city, just around the tourists. Did you find much of a culture shock when you came over?
No, not really. I'd been around a few Kiwis, so I kind of got it, like what they were like, and I actually found people to be like pretty similar. And then like I found like real common ground with like different. I did a bit of kickboxing. I was kickboxing at the time, and I used to go to like MTI on, I think it's just off Courtney Place, but like I was a lot heavier then, so I was always in the heavyweight division, and it was all these Polynesian guys, and like you just found the cultures were quite similar. Like we're always messing and just similar kind of mindset, so that was fine. Like most of my mates were like white guys that I met in Australia, but yeah, just everybody was just really nice. Like up for a laugh. They seemed to like the accents, like, because I remember when the Kiwi boys were living in Ireland, like all the girls were just fawning over their accents. They were like, oh my god, it's much nicer than Australia accent. And they were saying to me, oh, you should move to New Zealand, people will really like your accents. And I was like, really? Yeah, so came over here, and just like people were just so accommodating. Like I think the first game we went to in the World Cup was Ireland America in New Plymouth. And like we went out, we met some friends of friends, and then one of them was like, oh, my mom has a big house in New Plymouth. She's going to use it as a guest house. We're going to stay there for the weekend. She's going to do a trial run to see what it's like as a guest house. Do you want to stay for free? And we're like, that would be amazing. Like these people we've literally met one day,
Yeah.
invite us up to their place, and we stay. And then we get there, the family are just so like nice to us and delighted to have us. And there's gangs of Kiwis with us as well, like their friends, and like some were dressed in America gear, some were dressed in Ireland gear. And like they just couldn't have been nicer to us. Like and even the people whose house it was, Nessa's parents, she was like, oh, the takeaways aren't open late here in New Plymouth, so we'll put lasagna in the oven and we'll keep it warm. So if you come home drunk and you want something to eat, there'll be warm lasagna in the oven. Like, they just could not have been nicer to us.
NZ hospitality at its finest.
Sometimes, yeah, and like that's one thing I tell. Like sometimes Irish people say things and they're like, "Oh yeah, we should catch up," but they don't mean it. When a Kiwi says something, the Kiwi means it. Like they're like,
yeah,
like they can tell you at 4 o'clock in the morning they'll move to Ireland and they're probably gonna do it. Like, yeah, so yeah, people really followed through and just like so like they're just more like really genuine people, friendlier as well. Like, yeah, it's just I'd say Irish are pretty friendly, but there's sometimes a little bit of falseness in there as well.
yeah. Well,
Didn't really get that here.
would you so like experiencing that kind of NZ hospitality, did you ever get it from the other side? Like when you were in Ireland, when you got tourists, how would Irish in your mind treat like tourists? Like say if they were from New Zealand or Australia or from that part of the world.
Well, like usually you'd meet them at the rugby, and I always went to like the laws around drinking in stadiums in Ireland are a little bit more lax than they are in New Zealand. So if I was going to like an Ireland New Zealand game, I'd make sure I'd bring a hip flask of Irish whiskey. Like I had this hip flask with lots of little like metal shot glasses, and they all clipped in at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So like I'd be in the stand, and when I'd meet them, and if I was sitting near a Kiwi, I'd be like, "Oh, have a whiskey with me. I brought Irish whiskey for you," and they'd be like, "You can't just pour whiskey in the stadium." And I was like, "No, it's a bit more chill here. You can."
Yeah.
So like if no matter what, like I've done that with French people, Kiwis, Aussies, Safas, and like yeah, they're always pretty chilled. Like get a whiskey, and it's a good way to get chatting, go out for a pint afterwards and stuff. Because I mean, they'll want to know their way around town, and yeah, like I had quite a few foreign friends. I met a lot of different people and ended up visiting them. Like one of my best mates is from Bali. Like he came over to Ireland like on a cruise ship working in the like the kitchens or whatever. And by the time like he met an Irish girl, moved to Ireland. Like we hit it off over a game of football, and then like next thing I know, the guy has one restaurant. He has 5 restaurants. Then he bought property in Bali and had to go back. And like this guy I came across randomly in a game of football, but like I had to go out to Bali like every few years to catch up with him and his family. Like it just you'd meet quite a lot of foreign people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's generally a good reception. There's no real like the way like the English have like what's the party is it UKIP and they don't like foreigners coming in. I never really encountered that in Ireland. Like in Ireland, we spend so much time fighting each other over the smallest things. Like people, not racist, but they're parochial. Like so, a Dublin person won't like a Cork person, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing in Ireland is a mixed marriage isn't a black person and a white person. It's a Protestant and a Catholic. Like the two people who have like who look exactly the same and have almost exactly the same religion. Like that's the divisive one.
All right.
Like so like it's not like my sister went out with a guy and he was half Malaysian, half Japanese, and that was like just fine. But like I remember my cousin, like he was going out with a girl for years, and like my granddad said to me, he goes, "Oh, I can't believe you're bringing her home," and he was like, "Cause it's a girl." He was like, "No, because it's a Protestant." Like he was only joking, like he knew Naomi,
Yeah.
but it's there's more of a stigma around Protestant Catholic than there is anything else.
Yeah, no, I definitely regard Irish as very proud people. And you mentioned whiskey before, and I know with Irish, like, are you one of those people where it's like, the only whiskey is Irish whiskey? Because I didn't know until recently that Irish whiskey, you can't call it Irish whiskey. It has to be, like, there are certain requirements. It has to be 40% in that region where the barley's grown.
Yeah.
A few of, are you into your whiskeys, man?
Yeah. I just had 3 bottles arrive. Now I did order Irish whiskey for the wedding, so I got a bottle of Teeling's 18 and 2 bottles of Kilbeggan 8-year-old. I have a Redbreast 12 and a Japanese Matsui Sakura cask in the what's it, cupboard? What do you call it? Cupboard here? I'd say larder, but or I'd say press. So there's different vocabulary around. Like here, I'd say in the press, but it's probably cupboard or something here.
And have you been always a fan of fighting games and such?
Yeah. So like, I mean, I started off like going to the arcades when I was really young. Like I always liked playing any computer game. Like I had a little Atari when I was really young. Cause I'm nearly 40 now. 39. So like I started off on the Atari, and then like the Flash kids had the Nintendo, the NES, and then like you go to the arcades though, and those, like the Atari Nintendo graphics versus what you had in the arcades was just like it was a massive step up. So you always want to go to the arcades. And like initially, I used to play like the side-scrolling beat 'em ups, like Final Fight. The Simpsons was a big one. The Turtles one. We didn't get the X-Men one, which other countries in the world seem to have. But like those kind of side-scrolling beat 'em ups were pretty like what I would have went to the arcade to play. And then like I liked Pit Fighter because it was a fighting game. It was a terrible game, but the graphics were semi-realistic, and you got to hit people. So I was like, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. And then I think I would have been about 10. I was in Bray, which is just outside Wicklow. It's like a beach kind of town in Ireland. And I was in the arcade with my cousin. Like, my parents are probably walking up and down the beach or something because it's a nice day, but we obviously don't want to be on the beach. We want to be playing the games. So we're inside in a dark arcade. And, like, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to play Simpsons or Turtles or something. And then there was just this buzz around a machine, and I was like, "What game are they playing?" And it was Street Fighter 2, like the original World Warrior. Wow. You know, the one where you could only pick the 8 characters, and like it must have been 3 or 4 deep all around, and like going by 2 and 3 arcade machines either side because there was only one cabinet. And like I was looking at it, I was like, "What? Why is there 6 buttons? Like, what the hell is going on here?" And like I didn't know what it was, but you knew you wanted to play it because it's all anybody wanted to play. Like there was like one small cabinet of a game that shouldn't have been as awesome as it was, and it just like took over the arcade. Like the buzz there was awesome, and then you'd be watching people, and like say you see a Ryu player and he does a fireball, you're like, oh, what was that? What was that? How did he do that? And like you were trying to get as much tech as you possibly could in the queue, and they were like, you make a quarter circle with the joystick and you press one of the punch buttons, and I was like, okay, so the first thing I need to do when I get up, I'll pick this Ryu character and I'll figure out what punch is, and then I'll just start mashing quarter circle and hopefully I throw some fireballs and everyone will think I'm cool. Like, so there was that kind of thing. It was just like it was an absolute buzz when Street Fighter 2 came out. And then there was like, you know, I didn't have a Super Nintendo, I had a Mega Drive, but my mate had a Super Nintendo and he got it with Street Fighter. I was like, oh my god, a game of this level in your house, like this is like, I was just blown away. And then the Mega Drive version came out, and you had to buy a new joypad because the Mega Drive version only had like the 3 buttons, and if you wanted to change the kicks, you had to press the start button. But the Mega Drive one had the 10 characters. You could pick like Claw, Boxer, Sagat, and Dictator. So that was kind of cool as well. So yeah, it was always just.
Sorry, yeah, Dara, I give you credit because like back then you would have had to have bought every Street Fighter 2 version just to keep updated. Yeah, because I mean I'm not a Street Fighter man, but I know there's like. How many versions of there was Street Fighter 2?
Honestly, I don't know. And I actually go on YouTube and I just keep finding new ones, you know. And then there's like the hacked ones, like the Rainbow Edition and
Super
all
Turbo,
this. Yeah.
Ultra 2. I'm just like, Jesus, you know.
There's Champion Edition, Special Champion Edition. Yeah. Like, there's just so many different versions. Because there was a version, I think it was on the PS2 or PS3, where you could pick the characters from each different version and fight against each other. And that was quite cool. And I think like OG Sagat was just busted as all hell, like, which happens a lot with Sagat.
Yeah. Oh, that's where we got the Dirty Taquito as well, didn't we? With Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those clips of him just doing the wall dive. It's just nuts. And like John Choi, like he's playing well, and then he eats one wall dive and he's just done.
I guess you could have a better comment. Like fighting games back then, we liked the arcade scene. It was very gritty and kind of in your face to people, even though it wasn't really, you know, you just beat someone and then they'd hopefully disappear.
Yeah.
But now with potentially online's being like the main thing, seeing how that change has happened, like from where you began till now, are there certain things, elements that you wish had continued from the arcade days?
I suppose, like when I think about it, I think of how new it was to me at the time. But like I think I loved going to the arcades. It was awesome. And when I went to Japan in 2019, I hit arcades in Akihabara, and it was pretty cool. And it was weird as well. Like when you beat somebody in the arcades and you see Salt in the arcades, that's a much better feeling than somebody rage quitting on you online.
Yeah.
Like I played a Ken player. I think it was in Taito Station in Akihabara. And like I could just see this guy liked the DP when he was under pressure. So I just started baiting him, and then, you know, big Laura crush counter. And like you're almost dead, and the guy I think I just took a step back. He let loose an EXDP, and he just walked away from the cabinet. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember stuff like this used to happen. I also remember like when I was like really young, like that I was beating a guy, and he was big. Like, say I'm 10 or 12, he's like 18, 19, and he's like kind of starting to put the shoulder into me, just doing little things to intimidate me.
Yeah.
And like saying stuff like that. So that's obviously something you don't miss. And you did hear stories about fights afterwards. And like I think he was a guy, and he was like, yeah, he was kind of giving me the nudge and saying things to me. And then my dad was in the arcade, like having a bit of a mosey around looking for me. And my dad's quite a big guy, and he just put his hand on the guy's shoulder and just said, "Just watch yourself there, buddy." And the guy was like, "Oh shit!" Like, because basically he's an 18, 19-year-old picking on a little kid like this.
DARAGH to the
and
rescue,
then the
mate.
kids, yeah. My dad Pete would have probably not taken it too well at that time. But yeah, so there was a like there was I say there was an innocence to it, but there was also that level of like it could turn nasty. Like you're gonna get people in, had a few drinks and stuff like that. And I do remember going to the arcades, and you go in certain areas, and people would almost come up and square up, and they'd say a few things, and they might be looking for a fight. They might just want to have a, just try and put you down, see where you're from, see if they can intimidate you. So there was that little bit of danger, but it was also quite fun.
Yeah. For me, man, I remember. For me, it was those guys that wouldn't be on the setup. They would wait for someone to go on the setup, and if it was a guaranteed win, then they'd jump off the maximum. Then they'd jump off the maximum tune game or initial D, and then you put in your credit, start, choose the character, and then right away it's like you have a new challenge, and it's like this thing was just empty. Who showed up? And then they're like, that was the ploy.
Yeah, I remember when Street Fighter Alpha or Street Fighter, it might have been Street Fighter Zero, I can't remember what it was called, but it was the first Alpha one in the arcades, and I went up to play, and I won the first game. I picked Ryu, and I played him like it was Street Fighter 2, and this guy comes up and he wants to play me. Now, he was clearly sandbagging me the first round, but like he kind of let me win a round. And then he started doing like using all the different mechanics in the game, like the super move and stuff like that. And like he hit me with the double Dragon Punch Ken. And I wasn't even upset. Like I knew I'd been sharked, but I was also like, what the hell was that? Like it was kind of like I was just amazed. And like I think he was doing it to look like the man. And then I was just so like I wasn't angry. I was like amazed by this play. And I was like, what did you do? And then he was like, afterwards he was like, if you want to put in money, I'll show you how to do it if you let me win, because I want to play the game against the computer. And I'm like, that's a solid trade, 20p to learn how to do the super move. So the guy is like, okay, pick Ken. And I was like, but I want to pick Ryu. And he's like, just pick Ken. I'm like, okay, I'll pick Ken. He's like, the Dragon Punch super looks cooler than the Fireball. I'm like, okay, I'll go along with this. And yeah, just doing it. Like he's like, you have to build your meter. Now you do the double, like 2 fireballs, but don't press punch after the first one. I'm like, okay. And I do it, and it comes out, and I'm like, yes, that was worth 20p. That was awesome.
Nice, man. Well, you mentioned 2019, how you went to Japan. I've got a clip of you, same year, but this is BAM. Oh no, wait, wrong one. Sorry, god damn it. Okay, we got to go back. I thought I had it planned. It was your match with Itazan Zangief at BAM 19.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Reno we queued up to play against him. It was a big, massive queue to play him, and I was like, awesome. I know, like I was probably like platinum level at this stage. I was like massively confident, while knowing almost nothing about the game. But yeah, he seemed a real nice guy. Like we had a chat to him, and we were talking about like using T-Hawk in Street Fighter 4. I liked T-Hawk, so when I came into Street Fighter 5, I was like, and no, I didn't take Street Fighter 4 seriously. But we were having a bit of a chat to him. Like he was a pretty cool guy. He's really friendly. And this was the year after he finished second in the Capcom Pro Tour and the Capcom Cup. I think he lost to the Rashid player.
Gachikun. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So this was like, he was ranked like basically 2 in the world. But God, my play. I haven't watched this.
So at this time of the game cycle, strength-wise, Zangief versus Laura, what was that like? Do you remember?
It's never been good. I'd say it's the closest it's ever been now, but it's still in Zangief's favor. He can kind of just nullify a lot of her pressure. The SPD nerf has kind of made things a little bit easier. He has kind of better buttons. He can kind of armor if she's to like forward hard punch elbow or light punch quarter circle elbow forward. He can kind of flex and just do some pretty big harm. So it used to be pretty much consistently her worst matchup for years, but like not so much now. It's like now you're probably more worried about the Falk, Alson, Sagat, and even Ken has gone really bad this season. Could be that I don't know, but yeah, no, this is been consistently a bad matchup for Laura. Like one of my mate Justin, the guy who I met, who got me to move to New Zealand, he plays Zangief, and I honestly think he plays Zangief because it's the best counter pick for Laura. But now he's been playing Zangief for years, and even after the nerfs, like he's not going to pick someone else. He hasn't got that much time. He's busy with work. He's two young kids.
Yeah. Was this your first Australian offline? I know that you were with Reno and a few other guys. Talking to
So I went the year before, so it might have been 2019. I went 2018. So like when I started playing online, when I moved back. We went back to Ireland for a little while, and we kind of got into like Street Fighter 5 came out, and I was like, I'm going to give this game a go. And I initially I had the character crisis. I couldn't find a right character for me, and I was trying Ryu, Kami, Yuri, and Nikali, and nothing was sticking. And then like I saw my missus playing, and she was picking Laura, and she was doing all these cool combos, and I was like, what the hell is this? So I was like, oh, I'm going to pick this Laura character. And then within about a week of finding like Laura, I was like, this character's so cool. And then I was like, I should go online. So I played some games online. You know, probably got up to bronze. Thought it was God's gift to Street Fighter. And then the Capcom Pro Tour was coming to Dublin, so I went to an offline in Ireland. Got my ass handed to me, but I had a really good time, and I got to see Luffy and like Problem and people like that. Showed up. Mr. Crimson was there, and like you're probably going to go 0-2. Technically, I went 1-2 because Logan Sama got there late, and I got a bye.
Ooh,
So
nice.
like this is actually won a game. Some Rashid player, like, yeah, he was taking her to school the first game, and she looked like so angry, and then she just went ham and like just put him into the mix. Like she used to play Laura as well. She doesn't really play anymore, but she actually won a game at that. So I didn't win a CPT game till 2018. She won it in 2016. So yeah, moved back over here anyway in 2016. Start playing online again, and I was playing this guy, and he kind of messaged me on the Facebook or on the PlayStation Messenger, and he was like, you don't really know this matchup. He was a God player. And I was like, no. And he's like, do you have anything to voice chat on? And I was like, yeah. So we exchanged details, and I must have stayed up for like 4 hours, and he was explaining to me what plus was, what minus was, what frame data was. I didn't know this. I just played by the feel of the game. And so we played it for ages. And then he's like, I have this group chat, like it was like a Facebook Messenger chat, 4 or 5 people in it. And he goes, we mess each other, we have games. It's real cool. And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. So we kind of jumped in that. And then we kept, we'd add people too, and it got up to about 10 people. And like we joined WP, but we didn't really have the best experience. We were too green, like we were too new. Then we decided, oh, we'll set up a Facebook page, and we'll just call it Street Fighter Australia now. It was set up by like an Aussie, a Kiwi living in Oz, and an Irish guy living in New Zealand. But we're like, we'll call it Street Fighter Australia. It's for the whole region. We're like, yeah, cool. So it has about 500-600 members now. I don't do the admin side of it anymore. But like a lot of the guys there, as that page has grown, like the guys who were there at the start got to be really good friends. And then we were like, oh, it was about a year between us meeting and BAM 2018. So I was like, we were like, as many of us who can get there should get there. So like we people coming in from Sydney, Melbourne, like I flew in from here, from Wellington. People came over from Perth, like Yazbas, the Dalston player. Like he was kind of in the group from the get-go. He was like, yeah, this is quite pretty cool. It's like it's more about the fun than taking things seriously. And he would have been a pretty high-level player. He still is. Like he's pretty awesome. I think he's like Grandmaster or Ultimate Grandmaster or something silly. Like he's like 80,000 or 100,000 LP. But so we all caught up, and then we just like, we played the game. I ended up going 1-2. Who did I lose to? I lost to a Cami player from Auckland. I think more a Tekken player and a Street Fighter player. Well, I wasn't that good. And then I lost to a Geef player. That was the guy Kyle. And I beat Paolo, what's his name, Bow Special from out in Perth. So I went 1-2. I won my CPT game, and I was just chuffed with it. We got on the piss. We played like, went to the after party. Everyone was just rocking consoles. Like Travis Styles gave a few of us games and fucking watched us. But like it was it was pretty cool to see, and everybody's jumping on and playing games and money matches and all this kind of thing. It was really good.
Oh, that's good shit, man. Yeah, I went to BAM in 2019. Yeah, it felt good going there with the New Zealand crew and ripping them hard. I'll bring it back a little bit with lockdown, because you mentioned that you've got a partner, or should I say fiance, went to be married, and that old topic of COVID. Like, how's it been with you, man? Pretty rough planning that life-changing event?
Yeah. So we're basically now have to decide to do 2 weddings, because there's no chance of any of the Irish people getting there. Like we booked the first wedding we were going to get married in Vietnam, and we booked it like during the first COVID lockdown. And I was like, my dad wasn't well at the time. He had like a tumor on his brain, and it had wrapped itself around his optic nerve, so he was blind. So like it was a real worry. And then I was like, we need to have the wedding somewhere. So we like I was like a happy halfway point between Ireland and New Zealand is Vietnam, and we'd had a family holiday in Vietnam. Well, like one of my mates got married, and I invited all my aunties, my cousins, and like they all showed. We had this awesome holiday, so Vietnam was like a real positive place for my family.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, if my dad's not feeling the best, at least he'd be in a place he's comfortable. He knows Vietnam. He has the vibe there. He's not going to be feeling like too out of place. He's going to know what's going on. So we booked anyway that wedding in Vietnam for 2022 Paddy's Day. That's obviously gone now, so we have to push that back. But it seems to be free in the contract to reschedule, so I'll probably push that back a year.
Oh, that's good.
And then anyway, we found out that the Vietnamese wedding won't be legally recognised in Ireland or New Zealand. So I was like, okay, we'll do a Kiwi wedding. And like we're doing one with like, 10, 15 people. We have a batch up just outside Rotorua. I think it's Lake Okarika or Okareka. I'm not sure the pronunciation. I'm probably butchering that. But yeah, so we have that booked. Whiskey arrived today. So I've gone all Irish for the wedding. I figured it's traditional. I do drink Scotch. I do drink Japanese. I've even had some German whiskey. I've got family in Germany. So yeah, we've got the booze. We'll sort the food out when we get up there. Just do kind of a barbecue dinner. Keep it kind of informal, and then yeah, we're stocked up. I think we bought mostly Parrot Dog because they're doing 12 packs of cans of craft beer, which means it's easier to tidy up. Like if you buy a load of bottles, you have to lug a load of bottles somewhere. You buy a load of decent cans, so you got like the Bitter Bitch, the APA, the lager. So it's. I mean, we weren't sure what we were going to get, but when we saw these 12 packs by Parrot Dog, we're like, yeah, that'll do.
Well, yeah,
buy them.
I definitely know that most of those craft beer makers, they're going for cans than bottles. It just makes it more economic. And I'm so glad you mentioned Parrot Dog, because I got this picture here, and I know it's lockdown. We all need our necessities. But man, this picture here, like that speaks volumes. And I'm not saying you're a drinker, but I'm just saying I totally get that. I see the Parrot Dog, I see the Chianti, the Pipet, some sparkling wine. Like, how much was all that in a shopping run?
I think it was $500 maybe. It was give or take 500, and then another 250 for the 3 bottles of whiskey. So we've got 750 spent. I'm not saying we won't spend more. We probably will, but I mean, it depends on if the Aucklanders I have invited to the wedding can get there or not. So we also got little labels made, like wine bottle labels. So we peeled off the wine labels off all the bottles, and have like Darragh and Amanda and the date on the wine bottles. So that's why if people don't know a lot about wine, like we picked all like, Sauv, Chardonnay, Merlot, whatever else. I can't even remember. But I was like, people can be very wanky about wine, like even more so than beer. I can tolerate a beer snob, but I know so little about wine that I was like, so we just ripped the labels off, we put on our Darragh and Amanda labels, everyone's happy that we've made this effort, and they'll say it's nice because it's a good day. Exactly. And they won't be able to say, oh, I hate that brand. So we thought that was quite clever of us.
Besides the liquor, have there been any other have you been indulging in anything else or extra, like in lockdown? Have you found like anything that you've kind of picked up or stuff that you're doing in lockdown?
There's definitely more alcohol involved. Like I wouldn't say we ever get drunk, but like, yeah, you finish work and you almost crack a beer or pour a whiskey or make a coffee and put some Baileys in it. I'm really not leaving the house at all. Like level 2 locks me down. I've like type 2 diabetes, so like level 2 kind of locks me down. So I really should go out while the sun is shining, but I just don't. I close the curtains, I sit in the dark, so that's not a positive at all. Definitely playing more games. Like we got a PS5 in from Singapore before the resale prices went nuts. So like we paid $800 for it, which I think was fine from Singapore.
Sweet.
We went splits on it. So yeah, we've been. I got Amanda into like a JRPG. I've been trying for 10 years to get her to play an RPG. So Ni no Kuni 2 was the one that she was like, yeah, this is a good game, and we put like 90 something hours into it before we beat it, like, and now we beat it, and like it opens up so the game can do more, so we'll probably have to do a little bit more on that. So yeah, we play a lot of games together. We did the that one It Takes Two where you have to work together and cooperate. That was unbelievable. Like I haven't played a cooperative that good in years. Like it seemed like the old days co-ops were big. Like I used to play Gunstar Heroes on the Mega Drive. I don't know if anybody remembers that one, but I loved Gunstar Heroes. I could never find it anywhere to buy, so I used to have to rent it from the video shop. And then like I was like, could you sell it to me? And they were like, no, it makes a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, for me because I rent it every
Yeah.
weekend because I want to play it. So it was just like a catch-22. Like if I hadn't rented it so much, they wouldn't let me. They would have let me buy it, but I wanted to play it, so I had to rent it, which meant I could never own it. So it sucked. But it always seems to get repackaged. It's been on PS3, PS4, PS5. There's a way to play it now on everything, which I'm really happy about.
Is
It's
there
just a kind of classic.
sorry, mate, is there a game that you and your partner like? What's the next game that you and your partner are looking forward to?
So at the moment, that Kina game just dropped, Bridge of Spirits. So we've got that one, and we've kind of just started that. We're getting into that now. Kind of curious to see what this Hogwarts game is like. I think it's probably not this year. It's probably next year. Yeah, I honestly don't know what type of game it is. Is it an RPG? Is it? No, I don't know what type of game it is really. But I'm curious just to see how it goes. Like we quite like Harry Potter. We went to the Harry Potter studio in Watford, just outside of London. We went to Universal Studios just outside of Osaka, and they have all that, like everything's like Hogsmeade, and there's a Hogwarts at the top, and you go to Hogwarts, it's like a roller coaster. It's just like, so yeah, Harry Potter's something like we really enjoyed, and like if you're battling or we're hungover, Harry Potter marathon, you don't actually pay attention, but it's reassuring. So we're both really curious about the game.
Well, I'm surprised that you know a bit about your craft beer. Did you go to the beer festival in Wellington? I didn't realize that it's Beervana. Beervana's held in Wellington.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been going to Beervana since 2011. Like any time I'm available to go, I do go. And also, I've went to all the beers at the basin except one. Because my mate rescheduled his wedding to not be on Beers at the Basin Day, and then they rescheduled Beers at the Basin, so his wedding was on Beers at the Basin Day, so we didn't go that year. So yeah, I go to every Beervana. Like when I came over here first, craft beer was a pretty foreign concept to me. I mean, there was bars in Ireland, in Dublin, the Porterhouse chain, and they sold beers from all over the world, but it was more based on where the beer was from rather than the type of the beer. So you did drink lots of different types of beer, but I didn't really know the difference. You're like, oh, this Austrian beer is like really strong and it tastes like plums. What the hell's that about? And like it was like Sammy Claus beer was like 14%. So they did have the variation, but it wasn't based on the style. And then like I came over here, and went out. We were staying in the base hostel. It was me and my mate Sarah Brady, and she was like, we travelled over. Another mate Kev was already here, and my mate Justin's obviously from here. And they were like, oh, we'll go for some food, and then we'll go to a bar. We went to Malt House. You know Malt House on Courtney Place, the craft beer bar?
Yeah.
And we went in there, and I'm like, what do you drink? And they're like, it's a big question. Like all the taps change every week. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I go up to the bar anyway, and I was like, I don't know what to drink. Like, I've literally got off a plane. I've been traveling for 36 hours. I had dinner, and I came here. And they're like, do you want to try some? They like give me the little glasses, and I was like, whoa, hospitality, this is quality. And I'm tasting them, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit like Guinness, but not quite the same. That's a bit meh. And then I'd never had a double IPA before, and it was Hop Zombie was the one. And I tasted it, and I was like, this just blew my mind. I was like, yes, this is my drink. Like, I thought I was going to be drinking Hop Zombie week in, week out. Like, I didn't understand how New Zealand beer works, how the taps change every week. But I was like, yes, I found my beverage. It's a great beverage. And I had like six or seven Hop Zombies, and I went into the establishment, that famous shady Wellington nightclub, and I was absolutely wasted, but I couldn't figure out why I was so wasted after 6 or 7 beers.
Yeah.
But yeah, they asked me to leave, so I think I went back to the hostel. I was lying on the bed, and I was like, "How am I so pissed? I could drink 7 beers while I'm getting ready." And I was like, "I know what to do. Genius move. Take off my jumper, take off my t-shirt, different t-shirt, hoodie, zipped it up, went back, got straight back in, wasted still, and then they realized that what I'd done, and then like after about 1 beer, they kicked me out again."
Oh.
And then my mates saw me get kicked out, and then they were like, let's just go to El Horno. They can never tell if you're too drunk. It's always ram. So we went to El Horno, and we were probably there for like another 4 hours, even though I was so pissed that I got kicked out of a nightclub twice.
No, I really appreciate.
So like El Horno.
Yeah. Oh no, you keep going, Dara.
Yeah, I think like El Horno is just so wedged that it kind of straightened me out. Like I don't think I got any more sober, but at least I was upright, because I was like just folded over, like trying to stand up in the other place.
I just admire. I never had much credit for beer. And then when I look at craft beer, the way, like the various flavors, I've seen one that had like Vogel that had like a sense of Vogel bread. I've seen
Yeah.
one craft beer that's had hundreds and thousands, and this one I've got a clip of a maple pancake imperial pastry stout. That's very elaborate.
Yeah. I'm quite big on these pastry stouts, and I actually have the behemoth one in the fridge. They've been doing a breakfast one, and it's a maple. They did a maple blueberry sour, then they did a maple blackberry sour, and the latest one is a maple blueberry and blackberry sour. So I have that in the fridge. So yeah, I'm finding now, like when I came over here first, an IPA was a craft beer, or a hazy, like when the hazies came out, they were craft beer. But now I'm like, if I'm going to be paying the money, I want something wacky,
Like crazy.
and the pastry, yeah, pastry imperial, something by Duncan's, with the lactose and the like. It's an imperial sour ripple, lactose infused, and you're like, yeah, give me that. I just like if I'm going to be paying the money for it, like while I'm out, I want something good. Like, I mean, if I'm not,
Sorry, man.
sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, if it's all just like IPAs or something on tap, I'm like, I'll probably just go with what the cheapest is because there's so many different ones, and even the hazies now. I think like hazy is just a bit over. Like, I think charging 10, 12 bucks for a can of hazy is a bit like. I mean, it's almost a standard now. It's been around for 4 years or 5 years, like pretty constantly. Can you really command those prices anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you could almost be paying. Like, I know this because of my job, but you could be paying nearly like $17-18 for a 500
Yeah,
ml can, of what you're saying, and it's like that's nearly $20 for a solo can.
I mean, I am not opposed to Lion Brown. Everyone else hates it. I'm like, if I'm going to buy a craft beer, it's the best craft beer in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Like,
some days you just need a
Lion Brown
Renfrew, you know.
hoodie. Yeah, just sit there, chill. You're not going to get pissed because it's 4%. You could watch like a rugby match or a UFC or football, whatever's on, like CPT event. Just sit there, nail a few of those, and it's sociable drinking. Like, I mean, if you sit there and drink a few cans of that Imperial pastry stout, you're going to know about it. If you drink one of those, you're probably going to know about it because it's a massive amount of alcohol to hit your system at once.
Because I would assume your wife loves wine, but does she
Nah,
like craft beer? Not a craft beer person?
Oh no, she is a craft beer person.
Oh.
I think she drinks rarely drinks wine. Like, she would have a glass of Chardonnay every now and again, but yeah, far more whiskey, far more craft beer. We've similar tastes in whiskey and beer. Like, we went to Bruges, I think it was 2015, and we got into the lambic beers, which led us to the sour beers because we were back in Ireland at the time and traveling around Europe and the US. And we ended up like going to Belgium, and they were like, lambic, it's really sour. You'll have to get into it. And then we were like, yeah. So we got into it. We thought it was awesome. And then when we moved back over here, Malt House started Sourfest. They do it around it's early or mid-March every year now, and that's kind of our go-to one because we both quite fond of sour beer. Now, you do need if you're going to be drinking sour beer all day, bring a pack of quickies with you because it is tough going on the stomach. Like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've only tried a few sour beers. I technically can't drink them unless I've had unless I've got a full stomach, you know.
Yeah, no, they are harsh. I can kind of get through a few. I'm pretty used to it now, but yeah, most of what we buy is sour. Drink some of the Imperial, some of the stouts. I mean, like those, like I remember coming over here and paying $14 for a pint of bitter bitch in Fork and Brewer. Now you can get 12 cans of it for 30 something bucks. It's like it's not that long ago that bitter bitch was seen as this really fancy pants thing. And now you're just like buying 12 packs of it for your wedding. It's crazy,
bro. I mean, my uncle would drink Lion Red and Spates, and this is probably going back to 1998. I never thought he would be a craft beer drinker. He's doing what I'm starting to do now, is starting to explore, the double IPAs and the hazy pale ales. I can understand why people stick with stuff like Corona and Heineken and Steinlager. It's what they come to know. But I like the creativity, I suppose, with beer. There's no holds barred. You can put whatever you want in there, and the percentage is almost right. They almost get up to like a wine level. They don't hit double digits, but you can get a can that's like 8.5% or something.
Yeah, what was the one, the DARAGH82, that new brewery down in Christchurch? There's like some kind of monster, and it's an imperial pastry stout, but it's 12, 13. It's something crazy. That's one of the stronger beers I've bought lately, but it's sold out. I had it at Beer Van. I was like, oh my god, this is blowing my mind. And then I had to go on a waiting list for them to open their online shop so they could sell me this beer, and they sent me the email through, and I bought some of it. It was pretty awesome.
That's sweet, bro. I'll bring it now to CCC, where you were there in your lovely green shirt, and you participated. It was the second offline major for the year. How did you end up doing? Well, how did you start off your weekend?
I was actually I with Street Fighter being on the Sunday, I was kind of battling with the flu, and if I had started on Friday, I wouldn't have went. Like I was kind of like, I was just over on the Friday. Showed up. I didn't go on the Saturday. I would have liked to went for some casuals, but I was like, just make sure you're not unwell. And then Sunday came round. I'm brand new. Street Fighter's on, so it was all good. And I was, you're practicing online, and you're like, oh, I wonder who I'll get. And I look, and I've got Stripes. That guy Sam. I don't know if you're Sam Squires. I don't know if you know him, but real nice guy. And of course, I go online to warm up, just hoping to play. I hope I get a G player because I knew he played G. And of course, my first warm-up game, I get Sam. And I'm like, oh, God. So then you're like, you play out the set because fair enough. But then you're like, oh, did I really want him to see that much of my tech? And then I was like, oh, he uses V-Skill 2. Like, most Gs use V-Skill 1. And V-Skill 2 is quite bad for Laura because he keeps the presidentiality level after the knockdown, which is pretty rough because he can keep Laura out. Like Laura's anti-fireball isn't great, especially not against G's fireball. So I was like, oh no, he's using V-Skill too. So I was able to I won the first round. I kind of mauled him. I was like, if I stay on top of him, I should be all right. And I kind of mauled him the first round, and then the second one was a lot more kind of like, it was a bit more spaced, and like we're both going down to the last bit of life, and then he's up his presidentiality level, and I'm like, how am I going to get in here? I needed one more hit, and I did like an EX clap cancel overhead. I think the clap beat the fireball, and my overhead just clipped him and crush countered him to win, and I was like, oh, thank you God, that was so hard. And I was really worried, like, then I was like, okay, he's probably got the measure of me now, he's going to know what to do with his G. And he switched to Guile, and his Guile was just that little bit rusty. Yeah. And I think I'm a little bit more comfortable in the Guile matchup than I mean, it used to be a case, I think it was like season 2 where Guile was really bad for Laura. It's not terrible now. It's like, so I was like, yeah, this is an easier matchup, and his Guile was a little bit rustier, so I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I was able to beat his Guile, I think, in straight rounds. So that wasn't too bad. Like, it was just a way off because I was just, that V-Skill 2 G was scaring the crap out of me, and I was just so happy when he switched to Guile. Like, yeah, then the next one, who did I get? I got Dio, and I had to play on stream. And I have to say, I was not prepped for the changes to Ken at all. Like, Ken had been made just that little bit stronger, and Dio's always been amazing, like, class player. And he knew what to exploit and what not to. Like, you used to be able to throw out claps in the mid-range to kind of take back a little bit of the neutral, because, like, Laura's kind of got stubby buttons. But the way Ken's heavy Dragon Punch comes out now, it kind of comes out at an arc, and it just punishes it every time. So I'd be like, oh crap, and I'd do it, and then I'd go back and I'd be trying to like force my way in with buttons, and then my brain would switch off for a minute. I'd do another clap, and Dio would just punish me. And then, like, by that stage, by the times I did get in, you get a hit into activation. You're so far down in life, you think, I need to do a cheeky reset combo, but like he was wise to everything. Like, he caught all my cheeky things, like using the air grab as a cross up and all, but he was just too onto it. Like, so he beat me, and he beat me well, and like clearly I didn't do any of the prep for Ken. I was not prepared. So that was a bit of a rough one, but like, Dio's such a good guy. He's always in great form.
Yeah. No, he's one of those guys where, like, I know he doesn't practice enough from what people have told me, but he can still adapt under like that pressure. He's always a wild card.
He's sharp. Yeah, so I was talking to his uncle who's there with him, and like his uncle was like, yeah, he just wants to play Ken. Ever since he was a kid, he wants to play Ken. He saw Ken in whatever Street Fighter was when he played first, and he plays Ken. That's his thing that he does. So I was like, all right, fair enough, because like he stuck by Ken when a lot of other people were dropping Ken. Like, I remember, Panda, the Australian Ken. I used to be a Ken player. Like, he's a good mate, man. I talk to him nearly every day. I played him on stage at BAM 2019, and we like got talking, and me being Irish, him being I think Bosnian. So we kind of like were asking about each other's history and what goes on in Bosnia, what goes on in Ireland. We struck up a friendship. But like, yeah, he'd switched from Ken to Akuma, and it went really well for him. But like, even when all these other players were switching, like going to different shoulders away from Ken, Dio was putting in that hard work. Yeah. And then you could kind of see it when like Ken got any kind of buff. Like, suddenly Ken looks just like OP, and he's probably not, but Dio makes him look that way because he's just committed to the character.
No, yeah, I remember seeing you there. You had your partner recording your matches. Even though near the end, I know you might have been frustrated, but you still looked like you had fun. You know, you had a decent run. I know for Tekken it was a rough bracket. For Street Fighter, I couldn't really understand the seeding of certain players because I'm not familiar with them. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, if I see you play with JB or if I see you play with someone that I know, I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably going to be this will be an interesting match.
Yeah, so I had to play a guy Ginga who I didn't really know, and I think he was more a Strive guy, but we had a chat and he played Yuri, and he had a pretty competent Yuri, but I was able to kind of like do some little tricks and beat him. Had to play Opto Davo as well, and like I know Street Fighter is probably not his main game, but man, he's a tough player. Like he's been around the FGC, so, like I mean, how long has he been around the FGC since before I moved to New Zealand?
Probably good 10 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, like he was legit. Like I won the first game, he won the second game, and then he won like it's the first to two, and he wins the first round in the decider, and I'm like, oh man, I could be going out here, and like no shame in it, like it happens. I mean, he'd probably forgotten more about fighting games than I'll ever fucking know, but anyway, I was just like, just rally, just try and play well, win this round, and then we'll go to another round, and we maybe will win. And I was actually able to get a perfect in the round to bring it back to one round all. And it was just like, you know, when you put all this pressure on yourself. And then like when I got that perfect, I was like, yeah, okay. Now, and then the last round was tight, and I won it with the exact same thing that I did to Stripes with the clap cancel overhead, and I caught the backdash. It's like one of those cheesy round enders. You can kind of make it safe if you get the space right. If you get the space wrong, you're massively unsafe. But it's one of those ones when nobody's doing anything at the end of a round. I think it's better to take a risk than just like try and do nothing and like end up losing anyway.
Yeah. When you looked at your bracket, just quickly, when you looked at your bracket, did you kind of what were your assumptions or what were your goals, if you had any that were set?
I mean, if I was realistic, it was like, can I beat Dio? Don't know. I've probably beaten him online. I don't think I've ever beaten him in a tournament. I remember one of the locals, in one of the Rambats, like one of the first ones I did kind of well. I ended up I beat Blackout like 2-0 in my first game, and I was like, oh yay! And then JB pulled out, and then I beat someone else, and before I know it, I'm in like winners finals against Dio, and I won the first round. I'm like, oh my god! So I lost winners finals like 3-1 to Dio, and then I think Blackout did beat me in losers finals. But like one of those ones where I was like, okay, yeah, you can play against this guy, you can give him a game, and I was like, there's no shame in losing, so just go in and like have. You'll probably. I was thinking I could beat Stripes. I was hoping I could beat Stripes. That was kind of my main goal, because I was like, that V skill 2G scares the crap out of me. So I was like, if I can beat him and I can give Dio a good game, I'll be happy. Now I did beat Stripes. Did I give Dio a good game? I'd have to say no, but like, I learned a lot, so I could kind of take it away. Like I was not prepped for the rebalanced of Ken, and that's something I have to hold. And I was like, yeah, maybe you don't always do as much. I usually, like when I'm prepping for a tournament, I look at who I have first, because all I'm really concerned about is I don't want to go at 0-2.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I messaged my mate Chavez. He goes by the Pred online, but he's kind of in and out of the game. But like I think he got to like Super Diamond with Yuri, and before he realized there was an FGC in New Zealand. Like he's from Masterton, like real good player, and he picks up characters quick. So I was like, he's probably the best G I know, even though it's not his main. I got him to run sets with me the night before, and I was like, just play your G and just do what you can. And he's like, yeah, nice one. Like he's real helpful dude. And so he kind of helped me out. So all I'd really done was prep for G. I was hoping to go well. I didn't know who Ginga NZ was, but I was like, I'll probably end up having to play him to get out of pools. If you're going by law of averages, are you going to beat Dio? If you do, you'll be chuffed. If you don't, It's like, I think to get into, like, because I'd come fifth at Southern Cross up down in Christchurch, so I was kind of feeling myself maybe a little bit too much. I beat Isaac to get into top 8 on winner's side.
Yeah.
So I think that was a bit of an upset. And like after it, I was like, this was down in Christchurch, and I was like just shaking. I think Reno kind of ran up and shook my hand. Like, I mean, Reno's obviously Isaac's mate. I mean, everybody likes each other, but I think it was a pretty big win for me, and I think he saw that, and I was like, oh, nice one. And then I was just like, oh my god, I'm in top 8 winner's side, and like I was like, I have to go for a walk, so I got some fresh air. And then, like a fucking idiot, I go out and I catch up with...
Southern Stronghold Christchurch. Arashi had that same moment with me in Tekken 7. I made the one wrong call, and it was enough that Arashi took me out to go into top 8. And same thing, it meant a big deal to him, and so I just slapped a shoulder and I just said, hey, you know, like, it's all good. Like, you did earn that, you know. Did you feel like with that, I don't think we make this mistake, but maybe some players do. They take the success of their previous tournament and try to use that to validate why they should get the same placing for the next tournament or the next major. Did you feel any of that? How you did with Southern Stronghold and then going to Crush Counter?
No, there was a more stacked bracket in like in CCC. There was a lot more people at it. Like Cam's Ace was there. I mean, like Larson, Tyson, like players like that who weren't down, like Wellington players who maybe don't travel as much as everyone else, but are like really good. We're going to be there, and like people I've struggled against. Like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I was like, this is stacked. And I think my thing was, if you can make it out of pools, you'll be pretty happy. And I made it out of pools, and I won my first game in top 16, and I almost made top 8. So I was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. Like, I think I played all right. I will say, like, I've been playing JB. I got across him a little bit in ranked, and I was getting a few wins. I think like around that time. But like what I probably failed to realize is like JB's a smart guy, and he's in the FGC a lot longer than me. He's probably analyzing all the stupid things I do, and like it just looked like the JB I was playing online in the run up to fucking Crush Counter Capital was not the JB that showed up on the day, man. He was prepped, he was ready, he was focused. Like, I mean, who knows how anybody plays when they're at home? I mean, I'm probably having a beer. He's probably having a beer. Does it really matter if you lose a game in your sitting room while you're having a beer? I don't think it does. Some people do. They rage quit and they go nuts. Yeah. But, like, most people are like...
No, I resonate with that point of view, bro. Yeah, it's really great to have you on because I haven't covered Street Fighter V with the changes that it's had. Going back as far as when they announced V-Shift, I haven't been able to cover it, and now with you finally we can. If you could maybe just go over briefly your thoughts and opinions on like the V-Shift thing. Like now that we've gone quite a while with this new mechanic, how do you find it? Does it fare in certain matchups? Does it benefit certain characters? And then we can obviously go over like Oro, Akira, and then the Street Fighter's future.
I'm stubborn and I like to block things out. So, I mean, it's nice to have it as a defensive option. I don't use it that much. But when I saw first announced, I was thinking, like, when I play Laura, kind of high pressure, grappler hybrid, like, wants to be in your face, wants to put you in the mix. And I was just watching and I was like, oh, damn. I was like, this is going to end Laura. But, like, realistically, it's just added one extra layer. And if you predict the V-shift, you get a punish. You get a big punish. You can jump. You can get a counter hit off light elbow. I think I caught Reno with an EX command grab. I just waited a second. He V-shifted in the corner. This was down in Southern Cross up, and I was able to catch him. And I was like, yeah, it's so awesome. And then he just whipped me. He beat the crap out of me. But yeah, like, I don't mind it. I think sometimes the slowdown kicks in when it shouldn't. You get a bit of slowdown with it. And I mean, if someone's pressed the button, yeah, slowdown's all good. I mean, maybe they should. I mean, if it's a heavy or if it's a super special move, yeah, the punish should be there. Like, sometimes you get the slowdown when you're jumping in on someone, and I feel like, should that really have been a slowdown? Should they not have been clipped by that? I've no problems with it, but like, it's just an extra layer to the game, and it was funny because like I couldn't for ages. I just couldn't get into the diamond ranks online, and I was stuck around ultra platinum, and I was like, V-Shift came out. Let's take Laura online and see how we go. I hadn't really been playing much ranked, and I think I got like a 17 fight win streak, and all I did was bait V-Shift because I was like, today people are going to be V-shifted, and I just baited the hell out of V-shifts, and I ended up like winning like 17, and with that, LP accumulator, I was like up to like 17, 18,000 LP. I got like 5,000 in one sit. I was like, woo, it's awesome. So like I was like, yeah, V-Shift isn't going to be the end of you. It's just one extra thing. It's like, I mean, Ryu and Ken have a wake up EXDP at times. Shimmy them, do something, show a little bit of respect, block. You can do the exact same thing with V-Shift. I mean, characters like Dalsum, I think, is one of the most who's benefited. I mean, Dalsum having that defensive option, I think, like, when I look at Street Fighter now, like, previously I probably had Dalsum outside the top 20 of whatever the 40 characters. Now I'm like, when I say top 4, you'd say, like, Kami's the best, Rashid's the second best, And I'd say between Poison and Dalsum for a 3 and 4, like they're my top four. I think anything else is debatable. So I'd say Dalsum and Poison getting those escapes coupled with the long ranges, it works really well. I thought it might work as well for Manat, but Manat doesn't seem to have benefited in the same way as Poison. And I mean, I know she got hit with a few nerfs over the years, and maybe Dalsum got hit with a few buffs over the years, but you look at Dalsum now, he can zone, he has the V shift, he has the teleport, he has huge damage. So like he can rush down and you're like, he doesn't have an invincible, but I suppose the V shift and the teleport are quite good. And I honestly think that Dalsum is the third or fourth best character in the game, and I think he's the one who's benefited most from V shift.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe lots of people won't agree, but like I was watching like even some of the American tier lists and Punk, they were like the Punk, who's the best character in the game? He's like Dalsum. Like he probably knows the thing. And then I was watching Nemo, and he was like, yeah, Dalsum's definitely top five. Dalsum's awesome. Like, and Japan have been saying Dalsum is strong for ages when like other places. Like my mate Yaz is like, no, like he's an awesome Dalsum player. He's way better than me, but like he's like, no, Dalsum's useless. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to argue with him because he knows more about the game than me. But like, I still think Sim is like locked in for top five.
Yeah. Okay. And your thoughts on Oro and Akira, like how Oro's been and how Akira's been?
I was looking forward to Oro, and I played Oro, and like I think he's awesome. Like he's not a great character, but he's so much fun to play. Like you're not going to beat like too many people. You might get the odd win, but just everything about him is fun. I don't know what you do to make him kind of turn him viable. I don't know if he's a great character. I play Moose and NZ Mary Boy, and they both have pretty good Oros that I can lose to. All right. But yeah, probably not for me. But I will play him, and if I'm playing like casuals with someone or in a lounge, I like to bust out an Oro every now and again. I just think he's so much fun. The combos are intricate. Maybe sometimes they don't do the damage for the amount of effort and the amount of execution. You're like, whoa, this is pretty harsh. Like to do like the double chicken legs into a DP, and you're like, well, that did no damage, and it was pretty heavy execution wise. But yeah, I'll keep messing away with Laura, or sorry, not with Laura, with Oro. And then I was playing with some mates and Melbourne based, and they were both messing with Akira, and like literally I picked up Akira, and within like trying like two or three things, my Akira is probably already better than my Oro, but the character just doesn't appeal to me. I don't really have as much fun. So I actually think Akira is really strong though. Like I mean, you meet a good Akira online, like she is, and it could be that we don't know the matchup as well as we should at the moment, but like. I mean, she has that rival skills launcher. She has the other V skill with the bustle fireball, kind of locks you down in the corner. She has that low special that kind of looks like a sweep, and sometimes you think you should punish it when your brain is switched off. Yeah, that double one there.
Yeah.
If you get you in the corner, like things like this, yeah, and then the EXDP, and you're like, oh god, I've just hemorrhaged like 450 damage, and like that was off a whiff punish. What the hell? So like, yeah, I think good players are going to like do real damage with Akira. I mean, you see Punk playing her. I mean, I came across Reno's Akira, and I won one game, and I probably got like 160 LP, and then he beat me 2-1, and he probably got 35 LP per win. I know Reno likes. Well, I know Reno hates actually the way the LP thing is balanced. So I'll take the LP. He can take the win.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like this. He's always on Twitter about that.
Yeah, goddamn Reno. And what about the matchup with Akira? If you play Laura, do you notice anything? Is there anything that you notice?
You really get locked down. Like you're probably not going to get V trigger as much. You're gonna have to V reversal. She can put pressure on. Like I think she's heavier pressure than Laura. Like it's hard to deal with. I'm almost like, is she better than Karen? I don't know, but like. Sometimes you get hit with her, and it could be that like we're so familiar with Karen. Karen's an awesome character, but like everyone has a rough idea what they're doing against Karen. Could be that I don't know, and I mean I'm terrible. I never learn the frame data. Like I learn everything by feel. Like I know Laura's frames, but I know no other character's frames, so everything is trial and error with me. But yeah, you do just get snowballed to the corner sometimes, and then she activates Daigo, and she can either go for the damage or feels like a glitch where if you get hit by the first Daigo, she can like dash you 4 times and you can't do anything, and then you're in the corner, and then she gets to finish your combo. It's nuts. Like I thought it was a glitch, but maybe it's designed and it's part of the game. I think the launcher combo is cool. Like I mean, it does do a lot of damage. It does do a lot of corner carry, but yeah, I'm 100% behind that. Like that should definitely be in the game. It kind of I remember playing like Rival Skills a Dreamcast in my mate John's in probably like the year 2001 back in Dublin. He lives in Melbourne now and doesn't really play fighting games. I think he plays like Call of Duty now. But yeah, like I think I was pretty pleased when I saw Akira coming into the game, and yeah, she's an awesome character. She's cool to watch, and she's pretty damn good. Like she seems like really solid. And you see like you see some Japanese players using her. You see Punk using her. Seems to be almost maining her. Like I mean, if he's willing to drop Colleen for her, it tells you a lot because Colleen is a really good character. But yeah, I think they've done really well with those two characters. Rose is kind of coming into her own now. I think when Rose dropped, she was a little bit. It was too much startup on a lot of her stuff. But yeah, these next two, Kira's probably the strong tournament viable one. Oro's the fun one. He has the Tengu stones. You get to do a 35 hit combo with pressing forward, medium punch, and then the CA at the end, what probably brings it up to like 40, 50 hits, which is pretty cool. But I mean, yeah, Oro's kind of like that Alex character, you know, when everybody loves the highlight reel, but you never really do very well with them.
Yeah.
I love that about Alex players. They're like, yeah, you're like, I 1-2-1, and they're like, yeah, but I parried your whole CA, and then I power bombed you, and I did a GIF with a cat exploding across the screen, and that's what Alex players live for.
Yeah, they do, man. And then this final character, who I think we saw before Oro, Akira, and I made the claim when I interviewed Milkshake Duck, Pepper Saint. You know, I said this character could be the segue to Street Fighter 6, and I'm actually surprised that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Milkshake Duck's a real good guy, James. I play him a lot. I know he's moving into his new place, so we haven't been playing as much anymore. But yeah, I think CCC a few years ago I met him, and I think he was glad to just see just another old dude at the thing. So we've been running sets. Falk's a problem matchup for Laura, and playing with him has really helped. But yeah, so Luke, I was actually just looking. He's a mad-looking character. Like the first thing I noticed when I was watching the reveal video, he has like the kind of low medium that looked a bit like Laura's, and then he had like almost the Laura overhead, but it looked a bit more like Abel's one from. Do you remember like from Street Fighter 4 when Abel did the overhead thing?
Yeah,
that looked
like a
very
crescent
like
kick. It's like a crescent type kick, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was like, oh shit, yeah, hopefully this is like Abel, because I was like watching Street Fighter 4 toward the end of it, and I was like, oh, I hope this Abel guy is in it, because he looked real cool. Like 801 Strider was playing him. Kioma did really well at Capcom Cup with him, the Brazilian player, and I was like, oh, that looks like a character, because I was like, I used to play Shotos in like CVS2, and then I sucked, and then I was like, I started looking for different characters. I liked playing Joe Higashi, but he's obviously not in Street Fighter. And then like T-Hawk and different things. So when I was watching, I was like, oh, I should probably learn this Abel character. He looks fun, and Abel wasn't there. Laura was the closest thing. Mrs. picked her up, and that was awesome. So I saw, like, when I was looking at Luke initially, I was like, oh, sweet, Rushdown Grappler, all me. Rushdown Grappler is going to be in Street Fighter 6. And then he starts doing, like, he had a move that looked like Cody Zonk. He had, like, a Dragon Punch, and I'm like, oh, no, I can't be trusted with a Dragon Punch. If you give me an invincible move like that, I will spam it, and I will get crush counter punished or counter hit punished or whatever the mechanic's going to be in Street Fighter 6. So I purposely play characters who do not have that kind of invincible move. I don't like it, so I'd like high damage, and I'd like no invincible reversal, because I cannot be trusted with it. And also, I feel it's kind of cheap, because it's like the EXDP just skips all the frame data. I do all my awesome setups and +3 and just EXDP, get out of here. And I'm like, no, but cheap.
I'd feel like that's one tool that a lot of us want, like Street Fighter players would want, is an invincible reversal, a meterless invincible reversal. But you're being honest. You're saying like, nah, it'll be the end of me.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I go nuts. Any pressure, DP. Like if I play Laura, I'm under pressure. I'm going to block, and I probably delay tech more than I should. But like I will try and stick to the neutral. Like, but if I had a DP, I would match that DP every time, and it would take a lot for me to learn it. I'd probably just like match the EX1, even if I don't have the EX1, in the hope that I build some meter. Like I'd be an idiot with it. So when I saw that DP, I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to be the character for me. Now, you never know. I might change, because, I mean, I played Ryu at a point, and now I play Laura, so they're very different. But, yeah, I didn't like the look of the DP, but then, like, his fireball was, like, fast as hell. It looked like...
ultra fast. Like,
yeah.
His arm comes down, and the fireball's already hit you.
It looked like DJ's fireball from, like, Street Fighter 2 and 4, but, like, look at it.
Yeah, it's like it's a
It's
bullet,
like a
man.
cross between EJ's fireball and a laser. Like that is nuts. I saw that, and then did you see his it might be his V trigger, but his like arms pop up. He has loads of stars on his arms,
Yeah.
and when he pops it pops up on like they look like an engine, or you know the guy what's it, Ida from My Hero Academia, and he has the like an engine on his legs. It kind of
Yeah.
looks like he has like the dump valves or something on his arm. But his arms pop up, and then everything just seems to get buffed. So I was like, "What the hell is he part robot or something?" Because when you watch it close, you'll see it. Like the steam comes out of his arms, and they pop up. Like I saw somebody saying, "Oh, it's like looks like Popeye when he eats his spinach or something." Like it's mad looking.
Yeah.
But that was one thing I rewatched that like today. I was just looking at the Luke thing, and I didn't notice that at all. And then I was like, "What the fuck has happened to his arms?" And like I kept just going back over this like 1 minute, like or 10 second if even, and you see him. I'm guessing it's the V trigger, but it pops up. Builds obviously get buffed, but his arms blow up like it's crazy looking.
Yeah, it could be extra damage. It could be that like some of his moves, because I saw there was a move where he got a wall bounce. So you know, I mean, you
Yeah,
probably know more than me, but yeah, it could be like an extra property like that. Visually, he's not
yeah,
eye catching to me. I know some people were making jokes that he looks like
no,
Steve from Tekken, or like generic
yeah. I saw
white blonde
Steve,
haired guys from other fighting games.
yeah, Steve Fox all over. Is he Ken like on Surfing Holiday? Is he Ed? I mean, Jesus Christ, how many blonde-haired, blue-eyed people can they put in one fighting game? Like, there's a hell of a lot. Like, I mean, you see the memes going around with Blonde Fighter 5. Like, so I
Yeah.
I don't play any blonde characters. No, I play like Laura, Honda. Who else can I play? Oro.
Or yeah,
Play a little bit of Manat, a little bit of Fang. So any character that's just that little bit weird, I'll probably play. Just like characters to be that bit different. Like I don't like the. I used to love playing Shadows, but I'm old now, so I just want weird stuff.
yeah. So overall,
Yeah, the design.
sorry, man, you go.
Yeah, the design of Luke is just a little bit. I like saw somebody saying as well. Does he look like an SNK character? Is he that like trying too hard to look cool and doesn't really look cool at all?
Yeah, like he,
I,
he looks
I,
like a surfer dude, but the hair, I'm like,
and
that
he
looks
might.
like a skater.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm getting all these mixed like images.
yeah. I mean, I just feel like the character moves look fun, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lab the hell out of this. Like that all looks really cool, like what he can actually do. But looking at the design of the character, you're like, Jesus Christ, they could have done anything with this character, and they gave us another blonde guy. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, man. So like overall, what
Yeah,
would your
so,
opinion be on like where Street Fighter Five where Street Fighter is potentially going after seeing like we've had this long Street Fighter Five, life span.
yeah, I mean, it's almost 5 years, really, isn't it? Almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years
Yeah,
in February.
6.
Quite a long time. I mean, I didn't know anything about Street Fighter really. I thought I did, but I didn't. When Street Fighter 5 dropped, and now, like, you're going to tournaments, getting the odd win, not bad. Got a medal. Like, I have a medal for Street Fighter, which is quite cool. But, yeah, Street Fighter 6, I mean, if Luke is an indication, I mean, what are we going to get? Like, he seems to have every tool. Like, I mean, if you give him a command grab, he has everything. And, I mean, wall bounce, that fireball is a bit nuts. So, like, is the game going to be zoner heavy, or are people going to have mechanics to get by fireballs? Because like, what are you going to do when he throws that fireball? Like, you're doing anything. I mean, you could whip punish with a fireball. That'd be crazy. Just don't know what to expect. Like, but then again, didn't they drop the Capri at the end of Street Fighter 4, and then she never really showed up? Like, everyone thought she was kind of the way Street Fighter 5 was going, and then like it really wasn't.
No, yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of Luke. I mean, yeah, he looks fun. I'll lab him out when he comes out. I mean, whether I actually want to play him is another thing. So usually, I just want to play Laura and Honda. I'll mess around with a few other characters, but like, you kind of get a feeling almost immediately after. Like when Oro came out, I was like, yeah, this character's fun. And then when like Akira, when I'm using Akira, I'm like, this character's awesome, but she's not fun.
Yeah,
And I'm not enjoying this that much. So I'll really just like I won't pick somebody based on like them being awesome or anything. I'll just if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to play the character.
yeah. Will you be
Um,
entering the online Southern Cross Up this year?
I don't think I can. Just I've some stag weekend stuff, like just doing a mini stags before my wedding.
Yeah.
That's kind of my last weekend beforehand. I would have I do kind of suck in online tournaments. I lose focus and everything, so I love the offline ones. And like I love playing online, but like I just like I'm playing in a tournament. I'm just like I'm not arsed. So I mean, I would have entered had I been available, but like I always find I do better in real life tournaments
Yeah.
than in. And I don't think it's anything to do with lag or anything like that. I just think it's my focus. Like I'm sitting at home and then I'm like, you finish a round and you're like, could I get to the fridge and grab a beer before this round starts?
Yeah, for me,
They don't watch the
yeah.
intros, like,
Bro, for me, I love reading the psychology between the person next to you as you play. Like, I actually
yeah,
get something from that. When it's
yeah.
online, when
I
you're
mean,
watching the
like,
screen, there's just nothing there.
yeah. I mean, I could be playing anybody online. I could be playing the computer for all it really matters. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I used to run. I mean, for Street Fighter Australia, I used to run online tournaments, and I think I did that because I was like, I don't want to play these. The group's grown and grown, and people want a tournament. Maybe they want a below gold level tournament where they can win, and I'm like, I don't really enjoy playing them, but I do enjoy watching them. If I were to run one, I could set up a tournament for myself to watch. So like you just organize, you do the brackets, make the thing. So I used to run online tournaments, but I could never really get invested in playing them.
Yeah.
Like I remember one I tried to run and play, and I got a good win. I like it probably connection based, but I got a win over Freezer, I think it was, back when he was playing Alex. And then the next game I was playing, and I was like, I don't care about this. And I just like I don't know who it was, but I was like basically just press and punch and kick every now and again. But I was really on the laptop doing up the brackets, like because I was like, I can't play this whole tournament and run this whole tournament. So I was just like, I'll make it look like I'm putting in a show, but I'm not. I'm gonna lose here. I don't care.
All right, man. I'm going to take you to your final round segments. Just 4 questions to close it out.
Ooh.
Sweet. So the first one is, if you could make a craft beer for royalty, what would it be?
Ooh. I suppose purple is royalty, so what could you? I mean, it'd have to be fruit based. I mean, I know blueberries aren't exactly purple, but I'm colorblind, and to me they are. So I'd go with something blueberry, imperial, because empire royalty. So I'll go with either an imperial blueberry ale or stout, or else. I mean, there's always that in me to put a sour in there, but definitely imperial, definitely blueberry. And if it's a sour reporter, would be down to how I'm feeling on the day.
Hey, that's nice, man. Okay, what would you have as your wedding song?
Uh, Very apt at the moment. So one of the we're actually in discussion. So walk down the aisle, probably Enya, Only Time, because it's Irish and mystic and all that. And then first dance, probably Gorillas up on Melancholy Hill, just because it's been our songs for the last 10 years. Our other song is probably Dead Mouse the Velt, which is pretty cool, but I don't know if that plays well. A bit of a dance song based on a sci-fi short from Ray Bradbury in the 1950s, which everyone should read, The Velt, or The World of the Children Made, whatever it's called. But like Dead Mouse did a song based on it, so it kind of makes sense if you read the book. So that's we read quite a bit. So either The Velt or Up on Melancholy Hill.
All right. All right. What change would you make to Laura's throw game?
Throw game, speed up, light command grab, because it does cover range, not kind of Zangief light SPD range, but it's also 4 frames slower, so it's 9 frames. For that little bit of extra range. I mean, they've already put like the damage is low, it's 160, so it's about the strength of Zeku's back throw, and like a lot of characters have 160 throw. Why does my 160 thing take 9 frames to start up? So I think that should be 5 frames, and then maybe give some hit invincibility to EX command grab, because it does go through fireballs. I'd kind of like it to go through everything.
Yeah.
So probably never going to happen. People don't like Laura, but if I could have them, I would.
All right. And finally, Dara, who is your waifu?
Waifu. Oh. In
Could be any.
Street
Could be.
Fighter
Could be real
5.
life. It could be in any media.
Okay. Can I go too?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Go from the anime world. So I'll go with Hinata from Naruto, and I'll go with Kaoru from Neon Genesis Evangelion, because I think he should have I was disgusted when they took all the gay stuff out of the Netflix version of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I always thought it was what's it? like the other two characters, what are their names again? Ray is a clone of his mom, and Asuka is just a complete weapon. So he would have been happier with Kaoru. So Kaoru and Hinata.
Oh, those are good picks, man. Speaking of which, you know, Evangelion, that's such a classic anime, man. That's like, I think that's one of like, the best ever.
Yeah, I mean, I went to when I was in Fukuoka. They have this like one of the malls in Fukuoka. It has like a Neon Genesis Evangelion store. But there's a special episode. I think it's the Hakata Mall in Fukuoka. But outside, it's all glass, and they have an episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion you can only watch in that mall outside, and there's a water show, and you see them fighting robots, and the water explodes, and they shine lights. So I literally ran by the Irish rugby team to make the start of that show in time. I ran from the Moomin Cafe. I don't know if anybody knows Moomin, the Finnish thing with the hippo-looking thing. So I was in a Moomin Cafe, and I ran down to watch this Neon Genesis Evangelion because I'm old and I've been watching anime a long time. I've actually I've got like all the Funko Pops from Evangelion over there. Got a couple of Kaoru t-shirts. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Hey, Daragh, thank you so much, man, for your time. All the best for your wedding. Hopefully, when I see you again, you'll be snatched off the market. But is there any last words you'd like to say to friends, family, or just what you'll be up to?
Just like to give a shout out to my nephew Henry, because he's always into gaming. I think he's more of a Minecraft, and then everyone, mate Jamie, who showed me what frame data actually was, and then all the guys I played CVS2 with back in uni, John, James, Kev, Keefe. We stayed up all night playing CVS2 like it was Street Fighter 2. We used to play 1v1, so that was pretty cool. And then all the Street Fighter Australia guys, because they've really helped me out. Like, I mean, based all over, and yeah, they've kind of pointed me in the right direction back from when I was just mashing the 5-frame medium kick because it was a season 2 Laura and I didn't know any better. But no, thanks very much, Drax. It's been awesome.
It's been good, man. Thank you.